If you find yourself in a situation where you're constantly saying to yourself, I need to stop smoking weed, but I'm just not ready yet, today's video was made specifically for you. I can't tell you how many hundreds of times throughout my struggle with cannabis substance use and weed addiction, I had said to myself, I need to stop smoking weed. I need to stop consuming these carts, but I'm just not ready yet. I'll wait till tomorrow. I'll wait till Monday. I'll wait till next week. And I can't tell you how many thousands of times I have heard this from clients over the years, just like this person who's happily 3 weeks sober from cannabis, or like this individual who happily walked away from cannabis and is now starting to scale their business, or this individual who has seen significant improvements in their career and their family life since stopping the use of cannabis, change their lives. But all of them at one point or another were saying, I know I need to make this change, but I just don't feel ready yet. If that sounds like you, today's video is going to help you move past that mental block. I'm going to give you some reframes to work around it. And there's like 3 or 4 things that you're going to want to understand and move in order to move past this, okay? And I'll tell you, time and time again, it's so funny and so frustrating at the same time. Because for me, as a high-level professional, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as someone who had, a doctorate in chiropractic, 8 years of college and rigorous sciences, biologies, chemistries, it was so frustrating to me that I could make all these other decisions, but I couldn't seem to make this decision. And I hear this time and time again from clients that we work with. We'll be working with a physician or a surgeon who's making life or death decisions, but they can't make the decision about quitting cannabis or nicotine or binge drinking. I'll be working with an entrepreneur who has a small to medium-sized team of employees and staff, and they're making operations decisions and financial decisions all day long, but they can't make the decision to stop consuming cannabis. Maybe it's an attorney who is constantly making complex legal decisions, representing their clients in court. They're a trial attorney, but they can't make this decision. I hear it time and time again. And today I'm going to help you move past that, all right? Now, real quick, if you are new here, I want to introduce myself. My name's Dr. Frank, and we offer a science-backed method that has a 98% client success rate for high-performance individuals and high-level professionals at helping them quit cannabis and nicotine in as little as 48 hours, privately without disrupting your life, public image, and without relapse. I put a link for that in the video description and pinned comment if you want to check that out, okay? Right off the bat, no one ever feels ready to do anything. I was not ready to buy my first home, but I signed the papers anyways, right? Going from an apartment to home ownership and then to larger home ownership, it was a big jump. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready responsibility wise. I didn't know a lot about owning a house. I wasn't ready necessarily financially, but I did it. I figured it out. When I first had a child, I wasn't ready. I don't think any parent ever feels fully prepared for having children, but people do it and they figure it out. I wasn't ready to start the journey of entrepreneurship, something that statistically has a 95% failure rate. And now I own 3 companies several years later, right? We have our supplement company, we have our coaching business, we have our chiropractic offices. I wasn't ready, but I figured it out. And time again, I hear this from people. They'll say, I'm not ready to quit consuming cannabis. And I'll just tell them, think about all the decisions that you've made in your life. Good decisions, life-changing decisions. In some cases, the best decisions that you've ever made for yourself. And you weren't quote unquote ready, but you just did it anyways. You told your brain, this is the direction that you're going, and your brain figured out how to acclimate after the decision was made. Do you think a Navy SEAL is ready to jump out of an airplane the first time? It's highly unlikely that they're ready to do that during the training. I don't know. I've never jumped out of a plane. But I would assume the first time they're not exactly feeling ready. But they do it, and then they do it time and time again. They build up that proof that they're capable of it. And then, by the 100th time, they feel more than adequate, more than ready, right? By the third child, you feel more than ready. Going from an apartment to a small home, to a larger home, to a larger home, you feel good about home ownership eventually, right? You start to feel ready. But readiness isn't dependent upon an emotion. It requires an action, because action builds momentum, and then motivation fuels off of momentum, and that momentum had to start with action. Readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. In many cases, a single decision, like the decision to stop consuming cannabis and potentially significantly improve your quality of life, your relationships, your finances, your career, your mental health, your physical health, whatever it may be. So first of all, no one ever feels ready. And that doesn't make you abnormal. That makes you human. And that makes you like myself and like literally hundreds of people that we have worked with over the years, helping them stop consuming cannabis. Now, secondly, if you find yourself in a situation where you're saying, I need to quit consuming cannabis, and that's good because you have the sense of urgency, but it may also be a bad thing. Because if you're saying, I need to quit, there's a big difference between I need to quit and I want to quit. And there's a big difference between I want to quit and I'm excited to quit. I am excited to put this drug down. A place that we get many of our clients to that we work with, right? Like that I showed you earlier. They go into stopping the consumption of cannabis from a place of excitement, not from a place of deprivation and need and coercion into quitting. And I tell people this because, look, a lot of times, especially if you've been consuming cannabis for a long period of time, a lot of people do it as kind of this like rebellious act, or at least that was how it started when they were younger, high school, college, whatever it may be. And you will rebel against yourself. If I tell myself I need to do something, or I feel like I'm forcing myself to do something, there's a high likelihood I'm going to go do something else, because I don't like being told what to do, even when I'm forcing myself to do something. I'm much more apt to do that thing when I'm saying, I want to do this. This is something that's going to benefit me. And this is something that I'm truly excited to be doing. And if you can start to reframe quitting cannabis in that manner, I promise you're going to be in a better position when it comes to stopping. Because if you're saying, I need to, you're probably quitting from a place of deprivation. And we don't want that. This shouldn't feel forced, because you don't need to do jack, S-H-I-T. That's the reality of it. And it's funny too, because when I work with people, I think sometimes there's this fear of like, oh, is he going to tell me I have to stop today, or I have to do this? And I always tell people, I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you to do anything, because you're an autonomous human being who is capable of making your own rational decisions. You will do what you want to do. I'm here to offer guidance, support, whatever it may be. Just a side note, if someone's telling you you need to do something and they're pointing the finger at you, run the other way, because I'm telling you it's counterproductive. It's counterproductive input, okay? The next thing that I see really hold people back or keep people stuck in this cycle from changing is they'll say, okay, I need to quit consuming cannabis, but I'm just not ready yet. A lot of that has to do with avoiding another bout of failure. It has to do with a fear of repeating failure again. So I tried everything I could in the books to quit consuming cannabis and nicotine, and I felt like I was hopeless. I tried literally everything, but it felt like nothing had worked for me, okay? And that's why we have our own methods now to help people stop. But so many times I've talked to people and they're like, yeah, I've been to rehab, I've been to therapy, I've been to Marijuana Anonymous meetings, things that, by the way, hover around an 85 to 90% failure rate. And people have tried these things multiple times over and over and over again, and they build up a track record of failure. And then that failure creates fear, and it creates a lack of readiness. It also creates a sense of hopelessness, right? So no one feels ready to quit if they don't fully understand what their options are, or even worse, if they feel like they have completely exhausted all of their options. I was talking to a lady late last night, Sunday night, a client of ours, and she was had kind of just enrolled or was, considering enrollment into our method for helping people quit. And she was saying, look, I've been to rehab, I've done this, I've done medical detox, I've done all these things. And, I'm really thinking about going to AA and NA and MA. And I really feel that, maybe this is the direction I have to go. But she was like, at the same time, I'm really turned off by that because, the lack of privacy and the whole idea of being powerless. I really don't like that. But she was like, I feel like I'm at a loss. So, I don't know what to do. I don't know that I'm exactly ready to quit because I don't feel like I have a lot of options. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have a ton of options. And the options that you think you have already failed you. So I get why you're not fully ready to quit yet. And then we talked about some things, we gave some reframes, and we worked past that. But yeah, that might be one of the mental blocks why you're not feeling ready to quit. And again, if that's you and you're a high level professional, maybe you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, an executive, you're a high performance individual. Again, we have a science-backed method that has a 98% success rate at helping people quit nicotine and cannabis in as little as 48 hours, privately, without group meetings, without going to AA, without rehab. And you can do it from your own home without disrupting your public life or image and without relapse. I put a link in the video description where you can learn more about that, okay? The last reason why I feel that people struggle so much to quit is because they feel like they're giving something up. I need to quit because my finances are falling apart. My relationships are falling apart. My physical health and mental health is falling apart. Okay, so maybe you get the reframe of, I don't need to quit. I want to quit because I'm excited about fixing those things. Great. But you still feel like you're giving something up. If I were to ask you the question right now and say, what do you feel like you're losing if you stop consuming cannabis, you stop drinking alcohol, you stop smoking cigarettes, you quit vaping nicotine? What would you say to yourself? Because if there's an answer to that question, this is why you are not ready to quit. You are holding on to some degree of pleasure, perceived value, perceived benefit, whatever you want to call it, associated with this substance consumption. And it's very, very hard to happily, excitedly, and easily let go of something when you feel like you're letting go of something that has value. But if you could truly get to a place where you understand that this substance use consumption has no value, and it's funny because when I speak to clients, so many times they'll come to me and they'll be like, Dr. Frank, it has no value. It's just purely habit. It's just purely an addiction. And I'll talk to them and I'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense because you don't have physical dependence, and we'll be talking for an hour. And then, we'll uncover like 10 benefits that they didn't even realize they saw to the substance. That's what I notice time and time again. It's people don't feel ready to quit because they feel like they're giving something up and they feel like they're losing something if they stop. And that is one of the driving factors as to why people don't feel like they're ready to quit. Okay. I've seen it countless times, but if you focus on these things, you can change them. It's not that you need to quit, it's that you want to quit for X, Y, and Z reasons. If you feel hopeless and you feel like everything has failed you, it's time you start looking at new approaches to stopping, because I promise there's more options out there than you probably realize. And if you're coming from this from a place of, I'm not ready yet, I want you to think about all the things in life, probably some of the most incredible things that you've experienced to date that you weren't ready yet, but you figured it out. Because readiness comes with action. Readiness comes from momentum. Being ready is not an emotion. It results from a decision. It results from an action, taking action, okay? And then lastly, if you want to really get this right, make sure that when you ask yourself the question, am I letting go of something? The answer is with 1,000% confidence, no. Because if it's not, we got to work on that. You got to work on that. We got to work on that, however you want to do it. And look, I put a video together for you. It's only 6 minutes long, if you feel like you're letting something go, to help you work past that mindset and that roadblock, okay? And you can follow me into that video right here.